This is Critical Nonsense, our high-lowbrow show about culture, science, and tech. This week, special guest Dylan joins us to talk about Pride this year.
Woo!
This is a song for the lonely. That's what an Aaron sounds like today. That's it. I had to bring it down quite a bit, but this is what an Aaron sounds like. Oh, right. And then, I guess, we don't have a Joey this week, so it's a little bit hard for me. I'm sorry, guys. And this is what a rubber baby buggy bumper awesome executive producer Jess Vander sounds like.
Hi, this is Jess. Thanks, Aaron.
Absolutely. And this is what special, amazing guest star of our lives and our podcast, Dylan Fowler, sounds like.
Do you believe in love after love after love?
Love.
I can't do it in your octave, Aaron. I'm sorry. I've got to take it down.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Dylan and I have sung together on occasion. We've been known to. But man, do I take it to the wrong key every time. It's terrible.
No.
I disagree. It's because of that tenor that you've got. You're just
True.
You know, you're like a modern day Julie Andrews up there.
What can I say? Car singing helps it.
Yeah.
Dylan, did you also do a cappella? I know, Aaron, you did.
I did.
Mhm.
Yeah, in college, which was like the height of a cappella, I feel like, was when we were in college, Aaron, right?
Yes,
Like
100%. Oh, yeah. I mean, like, what was it? You had Glee on scripted TV, but then you also had, like, the acapella, the sing-off. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And,
my
like,
group auditioned for that. We didn't. We didn't even get on the show.
Oh, no.
No, I understand.
Pentatonics, they just got us.
Those bastards. It's them and the
Honestly, not
NYU
fair.
Enharmonics. It's not fair. And if there are any Enharmonics listening, just know that I still think that you guys are amazing. You're such a talented group. Oh my God. I've sat in the wings just being like, oh, I want to be like them. They're amazing. Yeah. So, well, before we continue on this choral dream cruise, is there any housekeeping that we need to cover off on, Jess? Do we have any rate,
Nope.
review, subscribe?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Take care of yourselves and each other. That's my Jerry Springer
Yeah.
line. Got to throw that in there.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's about it. Wherever fine podcasts are sold, just please put a button on there. Secret, they're never sold unless they're on
They're
Patreon.
sometimes
They
sold.
are. No, you're right.
Maybe.
You're right.
No,
You're right.
no. Well, okay. Hey, Dylan.
Yeah.
Hey.
Why did I
Hey.
respond to "Hey Dylan"? By the way, I'm sorry, Dylan.
Yes, I'll respond to Aaron next time. It's funny because I reached out to Aaron a couple of weeks ago, and I was kind of thinking, he and I have chatted. I remember 2 years ago we chatted about initiatives during. For those who are readers and do not know, June is Pride Month, and it's actually a national holiday in the United States, which is great. Thanks, Obama. And then we were talking about Pride Month and how we as Sylvain, how we as a company can best represent our queer identities. Obviously, we're a very diverse company, but so I reached out to Aaron recently and I said, hey, why don't we do a Pride episode on Critical Nonsense? I think it's time. I feel like every time that I guest on this show, it is inadvertently a Pride episode because I'm just that gay. But like, let's just, put it in the books. I've been thinking a lot about what I feel being a queer person in 2021, about my experience having grown up in the South, about the, how widely more accepted young queers are in today's world versus when they 20 years ago or even more. So Aaron and I were just kind of popcorning and wondering, talking about what is the state of Pride in 2021.
I am honored to get to witness and be a part of this conversation with the two of you. I think Aaron has tried to talk about Pride with us in the past, but it's me and Joey, and we're just like, Aaron, just like tell us everything.
Tell us everything.
And we're just gonna be boards. And Dylan, I'm so glad that you brought this to Aaron and that you're here for the show today. I guess I have to, if we're gonna talk about the state of Pride in 2021, we need to talk about what are even the things that make that up.
Yeah. It's, it's funny. There are obviously 1,000,001 Pride memes that are flooding my news feed this month. And one of them is that Pride is, for me, it really hits me hard because Pride is not so much a weekend of the parade and the drinking and the camaraderie and the friends and all of that. I mean, that's like part of it for sure. But I am proud of how far I've come because I remember being in middle school, being literally 11, 12 years old, knowing in my head that I was queer, but having no representation, having no body that I could really talk to about it. I mean, my parents are wonderful. I came from a great family, but, being 12 years old and realizing that that's a part of me, I distinctly remember sitting and looking out the window and thinking, why am I the person, thinking that I'm the only one. Meanwhile, here I am on Critical Nonsense every damn time I'm on here being as gay as possible. So
Yes.
that is why I am prideful personally. I don't know, Aaron, if you feel any of that at all.
Oh, yeah. 100%. I think that when I was a kid, I remember how secretive I was to try to get to a pride parade. Like I could, of course, not go to a pride parade until I could drive. And then I would be like, I'm going to Kings Island to ride roller coasters, which obviously is something that I could have been doing. Like, let's be real. It's me.
You would also love that, right?
I would, and I would be equally as joyful, 100%.
Aaron, create a pride roller coaster. That's your next big project.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
I'm ready. I'm so ready.
I've opened a can of worms here.
Wait, what would a pride roller coaster need to have?
A lot of
glitter.
God.
A lot of glitter.
It would be it'd be like various rainbows. We have to talk about rainbows and the pride flag because that is an aspect of Pride in 2021 that's interesting. But I think, well, I'm truly trapped in the question of what a pride roller coaster would be, and I'm trying to pull myself out of actually answering
I'm sorry
it.
I did that to you.
No. It doesn't break me. But when I was younger, sneaking out to go to the parades was a part of it. But the real big part of it that I've learned over the years is how truly empowering the message of Pride is, period, and how that really saved me in so many ways. Like to have a voice out in the world that says, love you no matter what. Like it doesn't matter. Like you are good enough. You are great. And if you don't internalize that, then all the tidal wave of shit that the world is actually crashing down on you will push you out to sea. And so that pride is just, it's huge. And June is my month. So June is the month that I, like my husband and I threw our wedding party. Juneteenth is in June. Pride Month is in June. My husband and I met in June 11 years ago. June to me truly has become a month of freedom. And I even wrote like an Instagram story to myself that I didn't share with anybody that was allowing myself freedom from my own psychological COVID quarantine. Like I sat down and I said, you know what? In this month, it shouldn't be surprising to me that I'm going to let myself be free.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so funny to me that to me, it was Pride that unlocked that freedom to me all along. It's always been the anchor in the month. It's always been the thing that's reminded me to let my freak and not freak flags fly because they're valuable. Freedom.
Yeah. Pride.
Yeah. And this is the thing. So like Pride in 2021, to like frame this a little bit, obviously to make a time capsule episode out of this, because we should listen to it in like 10 years and hear what it's like. We're coming out of, in the US, COVID quarantine, and cities are just chomping at the bit to like express, to be around people and to experience life again in person. We're coming off of the back of what should have been a wild year of restitution in terms of social justice and racial equity, which in my opinion has not materialized. And we are coming at this in a year that is continuing, I think, greater cultural acknowledgement of the diversity of the queer experience itself, where there is a greater effort to bring in trans voices to the conversation. Again, not enough. Queer voices of color, and recognizing just the spectral nature of the community. There is more appreciation of that, both from those within the community as well as the companies that continually do what they do with it.
That is what kind of sparked this. I'm going to call out Megan Stalter did this video, and it's called What Corporations Are Doing Now, basically. Jess will put it in the notes, I'm sure. And it's this comedian. Her name is Megan. She's a bisexual woman, and she is sitting in front of this big, like, wooden wheel, and she starts out the video going, "Hi, gay, happy Pride Month." And then she's like, "We're sashaying away with deals. Here at the butter shop, we're giving three pats of butter for free if you could prove that you're queer. And if you could prove you do mouth stuff, we'll give you 4. And it's just like very, very on the nose for how corporations are pandering to the queer community right now. Though another bit in the video later on, she says, "We've been making butter for the past 45 years, and we've been accepting all people for the past 4 months." And it's just like, damn. I mean, that truly is what it is. I mean, it's like, I am glad that the Gap and that freaking Cracker Barrel posted that picture of their rainbow rocking chairs. Thank you, Cracker Barrel, for acknowledging our existence. But also, I need Cracker Barrel, and I'm also not just you, Cracker Barrel, if you're listening, any other corporation, to actually donate to initiatives, give money to initiatives that would help the transgender community in the United States, that would help, queer voices of color who have almost no voice at all in this country. It's on one way, I could imagine being 10, 15 years old and seeing all of these corporations waving the pride flag and thinking, wow, I'm accepted. And that feels really, really good. Because Aaron, you and I didn't have any of that when we were growing up. So that, on face value was nice. But on the other side, it's like, really, you've been making butter for 45 years, but you've been accepting all people for 4 months,
Yes. I mean, I went through this in a really minor, and it's like maybe it's silly, maybe it's not sort of way. I was buying some new sneakers, and there's a particular sneaker company that I will not name that I always look at their sneakers around Pride because they've been really consistent at putting together some really nice Pride designs. And I bought the sneakers, and I honestly felt like kind of sick for 24 hours because I was like, did I just fund this mega corporation without them doing anything in return? Did I just fuel the pink washing water wheel by buying these very cute shoes? And I did find that they actually, did put a lot of energy, and they did put energy into the LGBT community and funded a number of different organizations. And perhaps that's one of the things that's seemingly unique about this year in 2021, that perhaps is a byproduct of a lot of the calls and calling out of businesses when it came to the murder of George Floyd and reactions to corporate America, feigning or actually delivering some sort of economic restitution, or like putting their money where their mouths are and their energies are and their policies are. It seems that more companies, when they were putting out their Pride capsule collections, had to put out some sort of a statement saying, and X amount of proceeds are going to these organizations. or just recapping how much that they've put toward those organizations over the past year. I've never seen that many companies immediately also disclose, just to be clear, that this is not just about commerce, but this is about, righting wrongs.
Right, but do you think that would have happened if there hadn't been a calling for it, or if there hadn't been people that were questioning that,
Yes.
Because I would like to say that if people hadn't challenged these companies to actually put their money where their mouths is, then their money is going in their pockets.
True.
But is that bad? Like, is it bad, Aaron, that by you buying these shoes, that you are signaling to that company, like, yes, people want that and are going to pay for that. And hell, if you're a business and you're, commercially minded, there's a business here. Is that so bad if what that does for people and young 12-year-old boys, like if that tells them that that's okay, and maybe it's a transition and it's going to take a long time to really fully grow into that as a business that like actually is speaking it, doing it, acting it, putting that energy in. But I don't know. We've just had a lot of these types of conversations among us, I feel like, of what progress looks like at the very beginning, and it's super clunky. And when it comes to Pride, and in Pride 2021, it sounds like there's a lot of that going on, of just clunky beginnings of things that we'd love to see more.
It's the clunkiest.
More legit. Yeah.
And it's funny because you're right in that it is the beginning of this model, I guess, of how, big companies like this are advocating for Pride Month. But also, I mean, when you think about it, okay, the Stonewall riots happened in 1969. So that was really the first time that the queer community was put on a national scale, right? Like that queer voices were shouting for equal rights for the first time. That was how many years ago? 50 years ago? It's like one of those, like, why has it taken this long? Why is it that, I mean, like, again, yes, thank you. I appreciate, any acknowledgement of the queer community, but also what has changed? Like what, I don't know. That's an open-ended question. What has changed?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing that's interesting from, I certainly, just to caveat, like, I don't know a lot about this, but one thing that I had heard just in sort of like trend research that I thought was fascinating is that like perceptions in America or in the United States about gay marriage was one of the fastest things, like mass shifts in opinion, like ever. Like from staunchly like, no, not okay, to like, yeah, absolutely okay, in a matter of like, I think it was like 10 years. It's something like incredibly quick, which is interesting because, what are the reasons behind that? Oh, like, people quickly realize there are a lot more queer people in their lives than maybe they were open to accepting, versus like the struggles of Black people have been still sequestered in a space that has not enabled such a mass shift in a short period of time. And still, right, Dylan, yeah, like 50 years is still too long, and yet there's definitely something that's picking up pace.
That made me think of Harvey Milk. His whole platform was for queer people to come out of the closet, because when you see other queer people around you, then that'll make you feel encouraged to come out of the closet, right? And that was, when was Harvey mayor or on the council? I want to say the 70s.
Yeah, doing a quick Google to confirm. It was the 70s. It was the 70s. Late 70s.
Okay. Yeah. But it was like, the reason why he started just a little bit of herstory here. The reason why Harvey Milk started his campaign was because there was a law in the state of California that if you were a teacher and you were outed, basically, if it happens that people found out that you were queer, then you were immediately fired from your job because parents didn't want their children around queer folk. And so Harvey was saying, look, you, and by you, I mean whomever made the laws and, like the straight powers that be, you have no idea how many of us there actually are, because we have the luxury of being able to hide out. Well, that's also a lie. Not all of us have the luxury of being able to hide our identity, but many people do. And I think that back then still, it was so much more ingrained that you did grow up and you have to learn how to hide your identity, right? And so, but then like when you think about it, it's like, that is so fucked. Like why, oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but like why, like hiding your identity is the most traumatic thing. I mean, I know because I've been through it, like and I'm not to say that my trauma is like, anyways, I mean, it's a lot to hide who you are and to know that you're the only person who truly knows who you are, and then still being a child and figuring it all out as anybody is figuring out their lives as they grow up. It's a huge burden.
And sorry, go ahead.
No, ask, go.
I just got excited because I think this idea of what we were able to see, visibility, this entire theme of Harvey Milk's campaign goes back to some of the stuff that's been happening. And we've covered some of it on the podcast recently. But in 2021, like we had Colton Underwood coming out, and there was so much conversation. We did a whole episode about the complexities of the politics of that coming out. And you can go listen to the episode if you'd like to. But with Carl Nassib from the Raiders coming out. Also, I just learned that the Raiders moved to Las Vegas because of all of this. It's very confusing to me. And I'm not a football sports fan.
I thought the Raiders was like
Oakland
hockey.
Oh, fair. Also, we can go that route. I like that.
I don't know.
But they were meh. But, Carl Nassib, first out NFL active NFL player to ever come out, and
which is fantastic. First of all, I mean, it's great that it happened, right? I mean, again, the question is what took so long, but it's like I am very happy. Again, representation matters, and he is giving a voice to people who are sporty. I don't know what word am I looking for?
Sports.
But
they're
then there's
Victoria
also
Beckhams. We get it.
Right. But then we also have, like the reason why he was able to come out is because of people like myself, or not because of me, but people who are unable to hide who they are, like people who are just proudly who they are. They straight allies and the powers that be came to see like, oh, these queer people really are around. And then, like it's a trickle down thing. It's this person was able to come out, and he probably would not have come out even, I mean, obviously he didn't come out even 5 years ago or whatever, because he didn't feel confident enough, which is very sad. But I'm not out here like ready to celebrate him for coming out because you know what I'm saying, Aaron?
Oh, 100%. I mean, Dan Savage is, if you don't follow Dan Savage, I recommend all of his stuff. But I also think that it goes back to the specific question I think that you had sort of responded with, Jess, at one point, which is like, does it really matter? Like, is it really that big a deal, for example, that like I bought those shoes? Maybe they now know who the segment is. If Carl Nassib comes out, then there is some kid that's going to look out and say like, I can be a football player too and be queer of some sort, but I need to be cis, white, gorgeous, incredibly good at a sport to get to a professional level, and potentially hide it from my teammates long enough so that I can let them know once I've already got my multi-million-dollar contract.
And questionably a Trump supporter. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Oh, it's tricky. We're complex.
We're complex people. But I think that this question of, I think that there's an issue that really was discussed quite a bit in the 90s that started to make folks believe that visibility alone was all that needed to happen. Right. That it's like, you just need to be seen and then it's fine. And there's and that's easy because all we have to do is put a camera on you and it's done. And look, the internet solved. Right.
Well, and also like, well, look at how lucky you are. You have Will and Grace.
Yes. Oh, and queer as folk.
And queer as folk, like you've got these, I mean, I remember being young and, I mean, my queer, the people that were queer that I looked up to I honestly, I can't even think of any people that I knew that were, God, who?
No, mine, I
No.
remember it was the cast of Noah's Ark, which was on Logo.
Yeah, or like
Oh
every
my
once in
God,
a
when
while
Logo
there would
launched.
be a Real World episode or a Real
Oh.
World season that there would be a gay character, and it was like, oh my God, I'm watching this because it's a person that's like me, and like. And those people were very much not like me. Let me just put that out there.
Right.
But like he was a man that was attracted to men, and that's all that I needed. It was like, because that's the only example of that, Whereas now, I mean, anyways, go.
No, this is perfect because State of Pride in 2020 links directly back to the real world. So
Yes.
we had Pedro Zamora in the real world San Francisco. First, he's HIV positive at a time where the world is not used to seeing people, period, who are living with HIV, let alone seeing social activism around it, let alone seeing someone who is young and Latino and proud of both his all of his queer, HIV positive, and Latino heritage all at once on TV. So you had that happening in 91, 2, or 3, somewhere in there. But then you have Danny Roberts on The Real World New Orleans. That was around 96, 97, who was dating the blurred out military man for the entire time he was on the season. You could never know who he was dating. But then some folks forget that somewhere in there was The Real World Chicago with a house member named Karamo. And so Karamo, was it Chicago or was it Philly? It might have been Real World Philly.
I don't remember.
Oh shit! I'm sorry, Karamo. I want to meet Karamo so badly. But yes,
I have. He's very, very tall.
I
Very
believe
tall.
that. Yeah,
like 6'5", I would say.
And he's a model. Anyway, I'm rabbit hole. But you can look at him and him talking about his experience in the real world. Philly or Chicago. We will have to look into this. I think it was Chicago. I think he was with Willie in the Real World Chicago house, which in and of itself was shocking that they had 2 gay members of the house, and you had a black gay and a not black gay. And it was like, whoa, what do we do? Anyway, that's a really, really reductive thing. But I just wanted to call out Karamo then. Karamo Fab 5, literally same person. He has a show where he is professionally queer and helping bring the power of pride all around the world. Like, if that doesn't say something about the state of 2021 pride, I don't know what does.
It was Philadelphia.
Oh, I'm so
Philadelphia,
sorry.
damn.
Oh,
I will say, Aaron, on that point, which I think is very interesting. If you look back and watch the videos of Karamo in Philadelphia, he is talking about how he's not attracted to feminine men. He's talking about how he's only attracted to masculine men because he thinks that those are real men. And that he, which I would say that in my lifetime, I've probably said something along the same lines, because that's how we were raised to expect. We equate femininity with weakness. And so, and especially with anybody who's feminine, be it a woman or a man or anything in between. But then especially if a man expresses feminine qualities, then that's shameful or unattractive, which is so off base and hurtful. I mean, I remember, again, not even being that young, being in my early 20s and just thinking like, well, I'm too gay. Like just like the way that I talk is just weird, the way that I don't know. But that, again, that's like trauma that I'm putting on that society is putting on anybody who identifies in that way.
Yeah, I feel like what is so amazing about all of this is that we're talking about Pride 2021 in the context of like both of your personal experiences and how much that talks about this. And Aaron, you said something earlier about how like visibility alone is not sufficient. And Dylan, even for what you said, like that clearly is true, right? Because it's not it's not done. whatever the struggle of being proud entails for you. And I guess I'm wondering, like, what would you hope for maybe it's not going to come in a year. It may still be taking so much more time, but what do you personally hope for that we do need, and people like you and younger people like you need?
Ooh.
Wow.
I think that I would love to see us really go beyond the empathy politics of queer identity, where, to the point that you were making about the incredibly fast gap that closed in public opinion, or switched in public opinion, there's so many pieces that talk about how Liz Cheney had it, or not Liz Cheney. Who is Liz Cheney's sister? Oh my goodness. I'm totally blanking. So the queer Cheney, Mary Cheney, there it is in my brain. Mary Cheney coming out had a huge impact on her father, who was the vice president at the time. And just this idea that you can have not only just someone in your family that you know, but so often it's a child, someone who you love unconditionally, that forces you to say, well, am I really going to throw my kid out? And many parents did. So forcing that conversation and having public figures handle that was major.
Many parents do.
Many parents do. It is not past tense.
So
it is not past tense. You're totally right. And the issue that I have is that the limits of that run along race and class lines and gender lines and sexuality lines, sexuality versus gender identity lines. And so, for example, New York Pride, there's been this year quite a bit of controversy because New York Pride put out a statement that said that the New York police department's gay LGBT officer quorum, because that's, I'm sure, the official name, would not be able to march in the Pride Parade in their uniforms. They had to do it in plain clothes. And they reacted and said, the group said, no, we have to march in our police uniforms. And immediately Heritage of Pride, which is the organization that organizes the Pride Festival in New York City, caved and immediately was like, okay, fine, you can go. Now, to be fair, I am doing the sort of public PR version of the story. We'll put the show notes in that break down all the details. It's a lot more nuanced and complicated than that. So I got to call myself in on that one. But fundamentally, the whole point of the first stand was that we recognize that queer people of color feel uncomfortable with the heavy police presence at Pride. It makes them makes us feel afraid. Because on Friday night, I might be running around uptown and someone in that same uniform might stop and frisk me, might shoot me. Like, that is a real experience. And then the next day I'm at Pride and they're not only marching in the parade, but in theory defending the Pride route that I'm on. So the whole thing that I'm saying about this empathy politics is that it keeps us as a people from being able to simply get back to the moral stance of what's right and what's wrong, which is acceptance and celebration of people that aren't like us, as opposed to only accepting those who I can imagine myself in their shoes, because the limits of that are wildly, wildly narrow, if anything, over the past progress of the 25 years has told us. And so to me, one of the biggest things about the state of Pride in 2021 is a really tepid dealing with the intersectionality and diversity of our actual community. And to the point that we were making briefly about pride flags, it's very interesting who's waving which pride flag. Which colors are in that pride flag? Are you seeing white? Are you seeing pink? Are you seeing light blue? Are you seeing the modern pride flag, essentially? And for those who don't know, the pride flag that I believe most people know was developed in the 70s, I want to say, and is the rainbow flag. But specifically, it's a rainbow with 6 colors. It's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. That's it. In recent years, there has been a lot of movement to add more colors to that pride flag, including black and brown to represent black and brown communities, white, pink, and blue, which is the trans awareness flag, and integrating that within the pride flag. And there are many other flags that are starting to be developed and flown, pansexuality flags. There's a lot that has been coming up that has actually changed the design of the pride flag from just being a few random colors that are rainbows. But the debate that happened a couple years ago when there was an introduction of new colors was basically, we don't have to add colors.
The Philly pride flag, right? The one with that
Yes.
added the black and brown stripes, right?
Yes. And certain members of the community kind of lost their minds and said, we don't need to change this thing. The symbol is perfect as is. We're going to have to add colors for everybody. And it's like, you fools. Yeah, what are you doing? That's my best favorite Gottfried. You fools. And you see it now. It's interesting to look around. The sneakers that I purchased come
The infamous
with
sneakers.
the infamous sneakers are rainbow on the side, but then have removable and replaceable flags that you can add to them that represent all the different communities.
Wow.
And I was
Wow.
like, huh. I didn't realize that there was so much Velcro on this shoe, and now I do. It's a little bit weird to have Velcro on your shoes as an adult. I will say
No, it's
that.
not.
I don't know about that. No, it's
it's
not.
not.
Not at all.
No.
Nah,
Own
it's
it.
cool.
Own it.
Owning it. So I think that's something we got to work with, and we've got to deal with in 2021. And I don't think it's being dealt with nearly as head on within the community as I would have
Yes.
expected, given everything that happened last year.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, if there's anything I'm taking away from either of you, even what you were saying, Dylan, about just like, watching a character on a show that's only representing a take on what being gay looks like, or what being queer looks like, and I think for all of this pride vexillology, Aaron, the whole point is that it's about like whatever, right?
Mhm.
Right.
And that acceptance of there is that diversity, the variety that you cannot assume that your version of the flag is what someone else, like what it's going to mean to somebody else. But also the other thing that you're saying, Aaron, is how hard that is, because the more you accept and bring under that umbrella, it is not easy to figure out how to understand and right, like turn what should be empathy into empathy politics. And I don't know. I know that we probably have to bring this to a close, and I want Dylan for you to help us do that. But there's just like it seems like it shouldn't be so hard, and maybe that's like, of course I can say that because I'm in this position, and that's
baby
so
Jess.
frustrating.
Sweet
summer child.
innocent little summer child.
You darling babe.
Yes. I do like that we both have baby faces, by the way, Jess. It's one of my favorite things about us in general.
It's one of the things we have most in common.
Yes.
It's where
Yes.
it's really the point on which we connect most deeply.
Every day, we just check each other. Babyface still? I'm sorry, Dylan. I've interrupted you so many times.
Yes, I hear you, Jess. I completely hear you. And it's funny because I was talking with my mother recently about this, which is a very gay thing that I say all the time. I'm talking with my mother about this recently. And she was getting frustrated because she's like, well, where do we go? Like, how do we make it right? How do we make it good? Like how, and it's like, I don't have that answer for you, dude. Like, I really
Yes.
don't. I mean, it's like
Right.
it sucks that is the answer. And also before we wrap up, I would like to point out that Aaron and I have a very different current
Yes.
situation within our queerness, and that we're both lucky enough to be in cities that we can fully be our own queer selves. I am from North Carolina, famously, and it's like, I just recently went to a wedding of a girlfriend from high school, and her husband now walks up to me, and we are not friends. We don't really talk. He was one of the people in high school that probably would have bullied me, and he walks up to me. I'm 31 years old. He's in his 30s, and he goes, hey Dylan, what's up, girlfriend? How you doing, bitch? And I looked at him and I was like, no, we're not doing that. And he was like, no, girl, like, this is our joke. Like, what are you doing? And I looked at him and I said, no, we're not doing that. And, you know, I could tell got embarrassed and like ran away.
Rightfully. Yes.
But two takeaways from that. One is that I now at 31 have the confidence and the self-worth, the knowledge of myself, and that I can stand up for myself in that situation. Whereas that very much was not the case for most of my life. And two, I shouldn't have had to fucking deal with that. You know, like that's like not like I can promise you that not one other person at that wedding had to think about what other people were thinking about them in that way. You know, I can promise you that. And so that's what's frustrating to me is that, yeah, I live in New York and, you know, it's very easy to be queer. I mean, I can't say that blanket, but it's, you know, for myself, it's very easy to be queer in New York, but there's still so far to go in places that are not New York City or LA or San Francisco or Chicago, you know? I mean, and like New York is an excellent example of that. I get stared at by little old women in the grocery store because my nails are painted when I go home, you know, like it's exhausting. That's why I don't want to live there. It's because of how exhausting it is. And so all of that to say, to wrap that up, Aaron and I are very lucky in our location, our geographic locations. And we obviously, I'm speaking for you, Aaron, but I would think that we both chose these because of the ease, the relative ease of being able to be our true selves. But the queer experience in 2021 for people who do not live in these cities is exhausting, like I said. And you asked earlier, Jess, like, you know, what's the end goal? I think, I don't remember exactly how you put it, but, you know, and for me, that would be the end goal, is that just like across the board, nobody is a jerk and everybody is just 100% accepting and treats everybody like a damn human being, you know?
It's so true. Like on the racial justice front, I always try to remind us that this is not a problem that Black people started or that we need to solve. There's another crew that needs to be doing the work on that. And look, we've got the Googles, so please avail yourselves. And when it comes to queerness, it's even more complicated because it's the intersection of like a puritanical values that our society has, such deeply rooted misogyny and sexism in our society, as well as very specifically just a fear of the other. And so there's these things where I wish I could say so easily, like it's on straight people to do the research. But the reality is that so few people are actually straight that doesn't solve it. We all need to actually be looking and recognizing that the things are a lot more fluid than we might think they are. Whew, we got to start
the kids
that,
these
and
days,
then we got to work through it.
They're coming out.
Goodness.
There's not enough closets for them to come out of. You know,
There aren't. It's like Monsters Inc. It's just like all the doors go flying by, painted in different colors, and I'm like, it's awesome.
It's fantastic, but it also, and this sounds really shitty, it makes me think, man, I wish that it was that easy for me.
Yes.
You know, like, I mean, again, I am so thrilled. I have a friend that teaches high school in Harlem, and she says that like almost all of her kids are coming out of the closet right now, and it's fantastic.
Yes.
You know, it that makes me hopeful for the future. We're doing something right in that.
Yep.
Back to the representation, back to whatever, you know, like I and Aaron and our generation and generations before us went through a hard time coming to terms with who we are. But all of that is because we now can be the examples for people who are just realizing at a young age who they are. So,
and thank you to the Marsha P. Johnsons and Sylvia Riveras and
Sylvia
James Baldwins
Rivera's.
everyone who paved the way for
the Larry
us to have
Kramers
our
and
own,
the RuPauls and
the Harvey Milks and the
Lady
Harvey
Bunnies,
Milks.
the Hardy. I mean, truly, I was in the New York City Gay Men's Chorus, and the first day that we joined, one of the original members who started the group in 1985. He got very serious in this orientation. He said, you all need to remember the saying, I think it was Sir Isaac Newton, I see clearly for I stand on the shoulders of giants. And I have goosebumps just saying it right now. I mean, it's so true. Whatever struggles we went through as queers in the 90s, the 80s, 90s, 2000s was nothing as difficult as it had been, you know? So it's like every little generation gets a chink and gets to whittle away, and it sounds like Gen Z is just damn blowing the whole wall down. So
yes, tear the shit down,
brava.
Gen Z. Brava. Yes, the youths. Yes,
youths. Yes.
Critical Nonsense is a Sylvain production.
Recorded on Pride Row in your mind holes.
That's awesome. I have to thank our special guest and proud and amazing, and we don't have a cool nickname for you when you come on the show, but you should have one. Dylan Fowler, thank you so much for being here.
Yes.
Have you had a different one each time? We should come up with one that we can continuously use because we love having you here.
We should. And, no episode is complete without Dylan. If we also don't have the amazing wizard of oral magic, our sound engineer, Alex Contel. Thank you, sir. Yes. Woo-woo.
We have to thank designer Nora Mestrich for all of the things and for continuing to believe in our merch shop. But you never know when new merch may be on the way.
Could be. Oh, the Critical Nonsense Pride Collection. The capsule collection will come in 2022.
That's right.
Yeah.
the capsule collection.
100%. We also want to thank the production crew, Les Jacobs, Tony Vong, and Sari Gilbert. You are the colors in my pride flag. Thank you for all of your support.
And as always, thanks a lot.
Okay, can I have a quick moment? No, I've got to... I didn't want to cry. I may cry. Coming to Sylvain was a big deal. This isn't like an announcement that I'm leaving or some shit like that. But when I came to Sylvain, I was really surprised at how much Alain made this company a place for people to be themselves, and how much his baseline expectation is that he wanted you. He wanted all of you to be in this room. And he encouraged me from day one to just be me. And he never did it by doing some sweeping speech. He never did it any other way than just being himself and allowing me the space to be how much of myself I needed to be in whatever rooms I needed to be in it. And I have to say it because this microphone also matters, being a queer man of color who's talking to who knows how many people. I don't know. It's maybe just my mom. Hi, Mom.
No.
No, it's not. But I just want to say a genuine, heartfelt thank you, Alain, this Pride Month. So thanks.
Doubled. Absolutely. We love you.
Yes. Was there a game that we were gonna play?
We've got a game. Yeah. Our ally, our wonderful ally, Jess Vander over here, has prepared a game for us,
yes.
I believe.
Well, you're going to help me play it mostly. So here next to me, I have what can only be likened to it's like one of those bingo.
Yes.
Those bingo mixers with all the balls with things on them. So I have a bowl next to me with a bunch of balls with letters on them. And what I'd love to do, and for my own edification and in celebration of Pride, can we play a game where whatever I draw, you try to do a word association of something that is related to Pride based on whatever is randomly drawn?
I'm going to keep
Yes.
this as PG-13 rated as possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Okay, cool. So I'm going to. All right, I've drawn my first one. Are you ready?
Ooh, yes.
Okay.
Ooh, B.
B.
Boys, that's terrible. That's so lazy. I'm sorry, that's so lazy.
Yeah, see, that's hard again because I've got some B's, but none of them are pod appropriate.
Yeah. Brian Kinney. That's where I go. Queer as Folk, Brian Kinney, character from the U.S. version as played by actor Gail Harold. TV show by Russell T. Davies, who also recently wrote and created the HBO Max miniseries It's a Sin, which explores the AIDS crisis, early days of it in London. Many people have called it the best show of 2020. So take a watch of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
High praise. That's awesome.
Mine is just the iconic drag queen Ben de la Creme.
Yes. Bendela. Self-elimination. De La. That was a major
Which, by
moment.
the way, this isn't a game, but I went to a Pride event last night, Aaron, and there were a ton of RuPaul's Drag Race queens there.
Really?
Let me just name them for you. Sorry to
Please.
interrupt this, Jess. We got Candy
No.
Muse. We got Simone. We got Gottmik. We got Olivia Lux. We got, who else was there?
Please tell me that Alyssa
Miss
was
Cracker
there.
was there. We had, no, Alyssa was not there. We did have Vanessa Vanjie Mateo, though. And then we did have
Yes.
Silky Nutmeg Ganache also.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
It was wild. This was at therapy.
All
Star-studded.
right. I love it. All therapy's reopening.
Star-studded.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I won't distract from the game. I will, just for a beat.
Yeah.
Also, Pride happening this year after COVID, when so many of the institutions, the bars, those restaurants that were queer owned closed. This all the chosen family that's been spread across these, lower 48 and beyond. Like everybody, I think, in the queer community is experiencing this Pride, looking at rebuilding the community. So I don't know. As soon as you said therapy, I remember that therapy closed. It was closed for a while. New ownership, opened back up. All the queens from Drag Race are there. I'm happy.
Wait.
I'm crying.
Maybe it was industry. I always get the two of them confused.
See, I got all happy and stuff. I don't like industry.
I'm sorry. Industry is the one that's big and dancy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Bob
yeah,
the drag
it was
queen's there,
industry.
though. So Bob started there, so I like Bob. Okay, Jess, what's the next letter? What's the next letter?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
next
Go.
letter. N.
We
it
have
is
the letter
N.
N.
I got one. Nancy, the podcast from WNYC. It is no longer on the air. It was only on for maybe 2 or 3 seasons, but my goodness, really, really good NPR grade reporting, fantastic storytelling. Tobin Lowe and Kathy too. You hear them on other NPR shows now still because they did so great. I highly recommend listening to the episode about the woman who the first lesbian that Kathy ever met when she was a kid, who wore keys on her, on a carabiner on her belt. And her telling that story and then interviewing the woman 30 years later, you will be crying the entire time. It's so lovely and it is so prideful. Recommend.
In that same vein, listen to the song Ring of Keys from the musical Fun Home because it is about that very experience. And my letter N is Nene Leakes because she is famously an ally. And she is famously friends with RuPaul and Ryan Murphy. And that is the first name or word that starts with an N that came to mind.
I love this. Do we have time for at least one more? One more? Okay. One more.
G.
Girl. Good God. Get a grip, girl.
Okay, you know what, y'all? I got 5 G's for you. They are good God, girl, get a grip. All right?
Yes.
That is from Latrice Royale. And you will find that in your day-to-day life, you will just see somebody and you'll think 5 G's.
Yes.
And that's all. Good God, girl, get a grip.
Yes. It works so well. It's very, very versatile. What's my G? I'm not doing the obvious one. I've got to be more creative than that. Oh, goodness.
Oh, and I just came up with another rated R, rated X.
What's
You're like, so many.
I
Yep.
know.
Yep. As soon as you said that, there's a whole alphabet that just filled up. Nope, can't say any of those. You know what? It's a dodge, but it's you gay, you gay. So
When you're gay, you're
that's
gay.
when you're gay, you're gay. It's John Roberts, who famously is the voice of Linda Belcher on Bob's
Mhm.
Burgers, who did a series of videos years ago. Back when, you just had your cell phone and you make silly videos about your friend Deborah. What's up, Deborah? No, what? Early stage viral video star who made it big by being Linda Belcher. But you gay. It's a very
You gay, you
Linda
gay.
Belcher. It's a
Yeah.
Linda thing. So yeah, it's a dodge, but I'll take it. Yes, guys.
What a
Happy
fun app.
Pride. This was fun. This was
Thank
good.
y'all.
It's a
So
pleasure.
happy.
Best.
Oh, also, this is an announcement. I met Kacey Musgraves this past week. That is all.
I know,
So
you told me
jealous. I'm
everything.
so jealous. Get off your high horse, Dylan.
Oh,
Ah,
that's good.
horse.
Ooh, you ain't never gonna come down.
Yeah. It's perfect. Bananas and shortbread. Back up. Getting myself in this space. Pink pajamas, penguins on the bottom. Singapore. Pink pajamas, penguins on the bottom.
Oh.
Okay, I'm back. I'm here. I'm ready.
Unique
Ready.
New York. Unique New York.
Rubber baby buggy bumpers.
Ma.
Sharpay. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
Oh God.